Hello and welcome to the April 6th Hemp Show powered by CannTrade. My name is Mark Restelli. I'm the CEO of CannTrade and the host of the Hemp Show. Kicking off the Hemp Show today, we have Steve DelBene, Dr. Trevor Bozeman, and Nate Natal with New England Extracts. Steve is the Director of Sales and Marketing at New England Extracts, also known as NEX for short. In his roles and responsibilities, it includes identifying potential customers, initiating commercial and corporate contacts, and managing sales relationships on a long-term basis. As a critical part of his duties at NEX, Steve is the team leader with respect to social media presence and brand awareness. And recently, Steve has been working in the cannabis space with an emphasis on the extraction side of the industry. Dr. Bozeman is the Chief Science Officer at NEX. He has been employed in the medical cannabis industry in numerous jurisdictions and has nearly 20 years of experience, specifically in cultivation and extraction. He has been a lifelong cannabis advocate and researcher, launching his career in 1999 in Maine, where medical cannabis became legal that same year. In Southern California, he managed several greenhouses and indoor grows, as well as supervised both hydrocarbon and supercritical CO2 extraction operations for several years. In 2016, he started his own consulting firm and was awarded multiple contracts by the Department of Commerce to assist and oversee in the implementation of Ohio's newly developing medical cannabis program. In 2017, Dr. Bozeman joined a vertically integrated cannabis company, Canovo Incorporated, in his home state of Maine, where he served as the laboratory manager and chief science officer. His most recent appointment before joining the NEX team was as the facility director at Cresco, Maryland, a publicly traded licensed processing and extraction facility. As the chief science officer at NEX, he oversees all extraction processes, data collection, and R&D. Last in the trio, we have Jeff Natal, the director of operations at NEX. Jeff transitioned into the cannabis industry when a loved one fell ill. Jeff knew that cannabis had the potential medical benefits, and the misfortune of a family member was the catalyst to push him to learn more about the plant. Extraction of plant material and refinement of concentrates was Jeff's true passion. Over the last decade, Jeff has focused on advancing cannabis extraction and refinement and has helped medical marijuana companies to design and operate their extraction facilities. Oh man, that was a long one. Special thanks to the three of you, and thank you guys so much for being on the Hemp Show today, and welcome.
Hey, thank you very much for the introduction, Mark, and everybody who's on the show today. Wish you good luck. My name is Steve DelBene, and as Mark has mentioned, I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for New England Extraction. We're located up here in Sterling, Connecticut, right on the Rhode Island border. We've been in business, launched October of 2020. We offer an array of distillates and isolates in CBD, CBG, and are formulating Delta 8. Dr. David Levine, our founder and CEO, is a retired board certified surgeon and professor in the state of New York. His main focus has been on the value that the cannabis industry and the cannabinoids that come from that in healing people, and that's really been his main mission statement. He's put a team together of scientists and other extraordinary talent in order to really enter the market and bring value to the customer. We are also launching a consumables line right now with tinctures, delicious gummies, and a water-soluble crystal clear liquid. We come in different flavors for our products: wild elderberry, blood orange, and tart cherry. The focus of the lab has always been novel transparency, integrity, and science leading the way. That's our mission statement. What we do here at New England Extraction is offer information to our customers, to our clients, and to educate as best as we can. And we're very good at listening to the needs of our customers. As we had mentioned before, Trevor Bozeman, PhD, is the Chief Scientific Officer and has been with us since NEX's inception, as well as Jeff Natale in the role of Director of Laboratory Development and working in the business development arm as well. Trevor's going to be taking some time now to discuss COAs, or certificate of analysis, and going through the finer points of it, and really some insight to how to read it and get the best out of it. Then Jeff will be then working with us, showing some of our products and demonstrating our crystal clear water soluble. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on over to Trevor, who will take charge of the deck.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Let's see if I can get this screen share right the first time.
All right. Well, while you're working on that, I got to say you got quite an awesome background in the cannabis space. You've been pioneering it for quite a long time.
Thank you very much, Mark.
So yeah, it's, COAs can be a lot to unpack in, 10 or 15 minutes. I just wanted to go over some of the basics and some of the, pain points that honestly we're experiencing in the hemp industry. Coming from cannabis, every single lab had to be, ISO certified. And in addition to that, every single lab in the state had to be certified through the, the state regulatory body. In hemp, basically you can send it to any lab in the US, and, there's not as much vetting that goes into that process. So I just wanted to walk people through, some basics. I probably spend more time, as a scientist, reviewing COAs and the nuances and idiosyncrasies of them, because I've seen quite a few. But just to, digest it all down into a few points that people can take away, and then I can also give this presentation to Sarah if anybody wants the slides.
Yeah. Please shoot it over. I mean, we'll put it up right next to the episode, and we'll publish it in the show notes.
So this slide's a little busy, but that's the rest of them aren't like this. But basically, one of the biggest things or misconceptions that people have is the difference between a full panel analysis and a potency analysis. So potency analysis just tells you your cannabinoid content. It's part of a full panel, but depending on your state and the regs, usually they require full panels for most finished end products. So it's important to know the difference between, just a potency result, which seems to be the status quo in the industry, versus, what's a fully compliant, complete COA. And other things to look for, your results should always be quantified. You should always be given a number and not simply a 1 or a 0, a pass or a fail. You always want to know those numbers, and, your lab and your production team, kind of live or die by those numbers. It's always you're on the edge of your seat waiting for that potency to come back to make sure you hit those numbers and hit that mark, and, got your residual solvents down to non-detect. And so it's really important for production. You should also see a picture of your actual product on the COA to make sure they're actually testing, and the laboratory's done their due diligence to make sure they're testing your sample and lining up with your business name. A lot of them now have QR codes, which you can just take your smartphone, scan that. It'll pop up from the third-party laboratory, so it's direct from the laboratory. There's no way for anybody to alter that or change it. So that's always a good thing for, transparency and making sure people are getting the correct data. And then ideally, you always want the name to correspond to the batch number that's hopefully written on your product label. If you see something generic, CBD isolate, CBD distillate, unfortunately, it's probably likely that, somebody's using, one catch-all COA for, many, many batches of product, which has, obvious drawbacks. And then pay attention to your dates of analysis. If you're buying something and the COA has got a date that's, a year or two old, it's probably safe to say that, inventory isn't moving that slow, and it's just kind of a COA that they've attached to something that doesn't necessarily correspond. As far as finding, a good lab to work with, the number one, make sure they're ISO 17025 certified and have a certification number. That's kind of the, industry standard. 1705 is for testing labs. And it's a pretty rigorous process. If they have that certification, you can almost assume they have pretty good integrity. They define limits of detection, which is, how low their instrumentation goes to pick up some of the analytes you're asking them to analyze. And then they have their quantification limits. And this should be, seen on a sample COA you would get from them, when you're looking at hiring one of these labs or contracting with one of them. Make sure they perform all your tests, include a chain of custody form, and then obviously quick turnaround time, competitive pricing, customer service, all that stuff is great to have. And then, with that turnaround time, also consider the geographical location, how long it's going to take to get your samples there. That's been a recent hang up for us. I found a lab I really liked on the West Coast, but, USPS is less than cooperative these days. So it's, just adding to our turnaround time. And as far as production and batching and, getting products out the door, that turnaround time, is very important. And then of course, other people in the industry, they'll have recommendations, just from their experience. So real quick, before I turn it over to Jeff, I just want to do a comparison of two analyses. And you can see one, I blacked out the name. I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, but I just wanted to, point out the differences. You can see one says analysis report, one says, certificate of analysis. There's a lot more detail in the one on the right, a lot less detail on the one on the left. This one gives you your limit of quantification, your limit of detection, various summaries of the SOPs they use. Looks a lot more professional and, less like, somebody just slapped it together on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm probably going to just skip that for now.
Well, just a note there, Trevor, I want to make sure you have time to get to Jeff, because we've got about 2.5 minutes. The 15 minutes really does fly by.
Last slide. So basically the conclusions, not all testing labs are created equal. So you want to make sure you have your ISO certification, vet your testing lab, and then, be able to scrutinize the COAs. And like I said, I'm happy to send this presentation out and people can review the slides and just, have it as a reference. But I'll go ahead and turn that over to Jeff now.
Awesome. While you're clicking over to the Jeff there, we should definitely jump on one of the deep dives there sometime, Trevor, because I'm sure you've got some pretty ridiculous COA stories. You've been in this industry long enough. You've seen the same COAs get passed to you from multiple company, multiple brokers or whatever, so it'd be interesting to hear some of your stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
All right.
I think I'm done screen sharing.
Oh, there's Jeff. All right, Jeff, all you got to do is speak and the camera will come to you.
It's the most difficult part.
There we go. Excellent. So sorry, but there's only about 1.5 minutes left here, but we gotta dive right into it.
Let's go. All right. So I actually set up a little picnic over here for everyone to do a little demonstration. I'll just keep talking while I do this demonstration for you. Is the view okay?
Excited. Yeah. If you could angle it down just a little bit. Excellent. And for everybody that's listening, there's a bunch of products on the table and we're about to see some cool stuff happen.
So one of the products that we're most excited about is our crystal clear water soluble. So all I'm going to do right now is add a little bit of sparkling water to our cup. And the purpose of this demonstration is to show you how, if you're familiar with water soluble, you generally get a few what I call problems. One would be the color, any discoloration, and also the way that the water soluble will mix through. As you can see, just upon initial application, there's really no discoloration, no floating, and a very gentle stir, and it's homogenized. This is what I just added in is roughly about 40 milligrams. So a pretty decent dose for a glass this size. Our water soluble test roughly, if you did a particle analysis on this, will be from 25 to 32 nanometers. This is not done mechanically. driven, meaning that it is not done with high pressure shearing or sonication. It goes through a different type of chemical process, which will create a hydro bond within the water. So the actual oil, the carriers, and the emulsifiers will bond to the water molecules. And then also, I just wanted to point out real quick, I put a few different flavors of gummies out here. These are D8 gummies, CBD, CBG 1-to-1. And I didn't have a chance to put out, I didn't want to make it too busy over here. But we do have a full spectrum gummy as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you for all this, Jeff. Jeff, I don't mean to cut you off. I really do wish we had more time, because I have a ton of questions related to the nanoemulsification and all that type of stuff. What methods you use to get that water soluble product. But we've got to go ahead and jump off here and move on real quick. So if you're interested in connecting with Steve, Trevor, Jeff, and New England Extracts, please add them to your network on CannTrade. You can also place orders and ask questions directly from the NEX Wholesale store, posted in the webinar chat, also in the CannTrade feed, and in the podcast and YouTube show notes. Once again, special thanks to the three of you for being on today.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mark.
We're definitely getting you guys on a deep dive. I mean, especially with three of you, that 15 minutes was just not enough time.